Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here, as always, with George Batista, and bringing you the best entertainment that we possibly can about film, music, and wellness, and a whole bunch of other things. And today we're gonna I don't want to get too somber, but we're gonna be talking about some artists that we've lost recently that kind of just came as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch in about a week. And so we're gonna talk about that today. And hello, George.
Hello, sir.
Um, it's weird. It's weird losing someone you've never met and feeling it.
Yes.
You know what I
Me,
mean?
me
And I
too.
think that's kind of like that's kind of like what we want to cover today. Is like, what is that? What is that? To kind of explore that side of who we are, where we value a person's work, a person's life, what they've given us, and you value it to such a degree that when they pass, it hits like a ton of bricks. You're just not prepared for it. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're out there, let us know what your thoughts are, and we're gonna go one by one on the last ones. We'll talk about obviously the first two, which were really big ones for me anyway, for you too. Um, I guess I don't know who. I guess Ozzy Osbourne. Um, so we lost Ozzy on July 22nd at the age of 76 years old. Um, a month earlier, or maybe even earlier than that, maybe a couple weeks earlier, he was on stage
Yeah.
with Black Sabbath.
Isn't that wild?
And he was sitting, but he did want to stand, and he did stand up. And I've told you this before. I went to see Black Sabbath
Yeah.
at a show in Jersey, and I went because a friend of mine had a ticket. He said, "Hey, you want to come see Black Sabbath?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Never seen them before, and you know." And I thought that'd be cool. I I was so blown away. I called you. I told you
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
because we were Rush fans,
Right.
and that was the kind of music that was coming off that stage. I could not believe the accents, the time, the riffs, timed perfectly together. I mean, it was like I mean, I was like, is this really happening right now? And Ozzy, when he wasn't singing, this is what was going on.
Yeah.
And I was so blown away by them. They were such a dynamic band. And Ozzy was Ozzy. He came out. He was like, he's cursing a lot. I can't blinking hear you. Yeah, he's like, I can't hear you. And then he sang, and he sang really well. I mean, this was maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
You know, um, in Jersey, and they were fantastic. But the front man of Black Sabbath, Ozzy, he really was the pioneer of heavy metal. I don't think anybody would dispute that.
Agreed. Okay. I hope it's John who froze because
You
I'm.
froze too.
Oh, I did. Okay, because
Yeah,
to me you froze.
yeah, and to me, you froze.
Interesting.
Well, here we go, folks.
Okay. Hopefully, we're talking about Ozzy.
Come on,
I
guys.
mean,
They're like, no, we're not talking about that. Um. Okay. Anyway, um, what was I saying? Yeah, is theatrical show that has some controversy. One thing that I always respected about Ozzy was he was himself
yeah.
all the time.
Right.
He'll talk to any person exactly the way he'll talk to the guy in the grocery store, to his family. It was the same thing. He's just trying to get a communication going. Now, obviously, he had a lot of chemicals in his system younger, and it did affect his body. And the fact that he lasted to 76,
Yeah,
So
that's I think what everybody was shocked at actually.
that's an incredible feat because that was not something that people, even when he was in his 20s, he was like just out of control,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So
It's interesting. Back in the day, again, and going back musically, you again, you were the person that introduced me to a lot of these types of to that type of music, to Rush, Zeppelin, and all that type of stuff. Because I listened to them passively. Now, of course, I knew of Black Sabbath at the time when I was a teenager, and I knew of Ozzy, but I never really had gotten into them.
yeah, me either.
And then one thing that happened to me, now again, I passively listened to, like, Crazy Train and some Iron Man, but again, I here and there. But for me, it was it was interesting because I think it was early '90s, maybe. There's this one song that he came out with, brand new at the time, and it was called "No More Tears."
Oh yeah,
And I was blown away how good that song was.
yeah, it's a
I
really good.
remember, matter of fact, I remember I either went to Sam Goody or wherever the place that was open at the time. And I remember my girlfriend,
Our records.
yeah, Tower Records, my girlfriend at the time was into a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
So I remember I bought the cassette, and I had heard this, I had heard the song like 15 times. Then I went to her and I said, "Did you hear this?" And she was like, "No, I haven't heard the song yet," because it had just come out. I was like, "You got to hear this song by Ozzy." And we sat in her car. I'll never forget this. We sat in her car and listened to the entire song. And she looked at me. She was like, "Oh my God, what a great song that is." I said, "Isn't that an amazing song?" And from that point forward, I looked at Ozzy in a different way because I
yeah,
had never been into him. And
yeah,
I was like, "Wow!" I started listening to some of the Black Sabbath stuff later, and then some of
yeah,
the Ozzy, his solo stuff later,
yeah,
and then I really got into, because I was like, you think of Ozzy as just a metal guy. You just think, but
yeah.
that song for me was so sophisticated
Oh
in
yeah,
not only the lyrics, but just the way the song was
and
put
his singing. I
together
mean,
and
does
his
anyone
singing.
sound like him?
No, absolutely nobody. And then,
Nobody.
the second thing that really caught me about him was, when they did, remember when VH1 used to do Behind the Music?
Oh yeah,
They did the Behind the Music of Ozzy.
yeah.
And I sat and I watched it
I watched that one. Yeah,
in
I
fascination.
think we watched it.
Maybe you and I
We might have
watched it,
watched it together. I think
but
back. Yeah,
and I was like, wow. And
yeah.
what I didn't know was that he was part of the reason he started a band was because of the Beatles. He was such a huge
Oh,
Beatles
huge.
fan. They were his idols at
He
the
didn't
time.
get to meet. Well, he met Paul like much later.
Right, exactly. But all he talked about was the Beatles and how,
Loved the
he loved
Beatles.
them.
Yeah,
He always used to say that he wanted to make his Sergeant Pepper album,
yeah, yeah,
that type of thing. But
yeah,
so, that changed my view. That one thing changed my view of him.
yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was that era that he was coming out. Mama, I'm coming home,
Yes, that was
and
another one that was
yeah,
great.
and it was that era where he was still what they call the Prince of Darkness or whatever.
Yes.
But he was his, and people talk about like the Prince of Darkness, but if you listen to the lyrics, there's no darkness in there. What
No.
it was is he's fighting the establishment.
Yes.
That's what you
Yes.
do in rock and roll. You
Yeah.
fight the man, and that's what he was doing. And he was very introspective. The songs were very, very well written,
Yep.
well orchestrated.
Yep.
The band, Black Sabbath was unbelievable. The and his melody lines, his vocal, his inflections were
Yep.
just him.
Right.
Nah, nah, nah. There was nobody sang like that.
Exactly.
And I heard him live, and he was already up there, and he was sounding great. He was sounding great. He was walking back and to across the stage.
Shuffling around.
Yeah, he was shuffling around and stuff, and just really, really funny. But the fact that 76, Sharon, his wife, I think she really helped him with those final,
Yeah.
because I don't think he would. I don't think he'd be here. We'd be talking about him at 76 leaving us,
No way.
if it wasn't for her. you know, and I think that she gave him stability
Yeah.
that he
Hmm.
never had,
Correct.
and she also was not a yes. You know, when you're in that, when you're in that powerful, and you have a lot of yes men and people that are just saying, yeah, man, yeah, you can do it, man, you could whatever, and she was not that.
Right.
She was like, no, and he was like,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, and she would just, and the kids also gave him a hard time as well.
Right.
The whole show was kind of silly, but it
And
attracted a lot of people,
I watched it
and
too.
I watched
I
it.
found myself hooked on
It
that.
was fascinating to
It was.
see because it was you knew that Ozzy was not acting.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
maybe the people around him
Right.
were realizing that the camera was on. Ozzy could care less about the camera. If he
True.
saw a camera, he'd be like, "Oh, get that thing away from me,"
That's right.
or whatever. It was not. Um, yeah, he was just always him.
Yeah.
It's very impressive to live a life that way,
Absolutely.
and to be able to do what he did, you know.
What I love about him also is that you could see, even as crazy as he thought, and some of the wacky things that he did, the music was always his priority.
Yep.
His music was, he lived for his music. If you really think about it, obviously his family and everything, but his music was his number one love. And you could see till the day he died, being the fact that he was on stage with Black Sabbath, not long before he passed away, that was his first love. And
Yeah.
no matter what, he respected it. And he knew it was a gift and a privilege to be able to do that.
Yep.
And that's what I loved about him, because he never took music for granted.
No, no, he always respected that he was blessed, and
Yeah.
and you hear interviews with him, and I know people make fun of his speaking, but he was very he you can if once you listen to him a lot, and you listen to a lot of interviews and stuff, which I have listened to a lot of interviews because when you're especially social media stuff,
Yeah.
you get a lot of stuff that comes in, so I see a lot of that stuff, and he was really articulate. He was really he was saying things. He was listening. It's the same thing
Yes.
with Keith Richards. Like
Right.
Keith Richards, he'll they ask him a question and he's really giving you a really good answer.
Hmm. Hmm.
He this is a I mean today now he's 80 whatever years old, but he was giving good answers, and these guys are not, they may have been beaten out by by chemicals and things like that, but them as spiritual beings and creative humans was extremely powerful.
Right.
And that always came through with Ozzy, and Tony, his guitar player and
Hmm.
stuff, for Black Sabbath, just became like one of my idols
Right.
on that show that I went to, because
Yeah.
I literally had no idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I had no idea. Like, I was listening to, we're listening to Rush, and we're
Yeah.
listening, like, Alex Lifeson, Santana, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton. Those are, Jeff Beck, and Tony never really like hit my radar,
Hmm.
And I went on this show, and I feel bad that it was so late in their career, but I watched it and I was like, I mean, he's George. You don't understand.
Yeah.
He was so good. The whole band was so good, but Tony was so dynamic. His playing was flawless, smooth, fast, but with inflections and that made sense.
Yeah.
Like it was so good. Like I said it was one of my favorite shows that I've ever been to, and that was
Wow.
like my favorite guitar playing. I've seen
Wow.
Santana live. I've seen Eric Clapton live. I've seen all these, a lot of these guys live, and they're all fantastic.
Yeah.
They're all fantastic. But this performance, or this guy was doing something that was completely uniquely different,
Wow.
and it blew me away, it just really was inspiring. So that was our, but Ozzy. So his show was in early July where he performed, and it followed, and just not long, a few days later, he was gone. He had this black jacket that Sharon they made for him like
Mm.
10 years earlier or
Right.
something, and
Right.
and he said, "I just want to wear it on a special occasion," and he chose, and it looked like he kind of knew,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he sang, "Mom, I'm coming home." Forget
Hmm.
it, forget it. The whole place is crying because everyone knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone knows. We don't know if we're gonna see this guy
Yeah.
again. I mean, imagine being at your own memorial, performing at your own memorial, which is basically what Ozzy did.
But and that's exactly right. He went out like the way you'd want to go out as a rock
Yeah,
star, right? This is
yeah,
my final
yeah.
performance. This is what I'm doing, and
You have friends all around him. They were all
everybody's
playing his
together.
songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
He sang. He stood up. He had that long. He gave a hell of a performance and just inspiring. His sound, his persona, his the whole thing he created was and I think the mainstream media that labeled him Prince of Darkness or whatever, and I don't think he ever did that. If he did, maybe he did. It doesn't matter. But all that, any kind of negativity that was surrounding him was because he was uncontrollable.
Right. And that's why they had, remember that whole thing that he went through where they said that he was responsible for some kid killing himself because of the
Right.
things that were on his record,
Yeah.
and
Just nonsense.
all the crap that they would normally
Nonsense.
do.
How about the drugs? Let's look at the medication they were on. Yeah, next one.
I was gonna.
Not gonna.
Yes.
Mr. Soto. I got pulled over the other day. The other day for the first time ever.
For what?
I was driving. I'm coming out of. There was all this construction site going on. I was
Right.
coming out of. What the hell was that? Oh, I was with my son, getting him a haircut.
Okay.
So I'm coming out of this little mall area, and there's all this construction going on. And when they stop, there's only one road, and so they have a guy with the sign that says
Yes.
stop,
Yes.
and then he turns it over and says slow, and you go right.
Right.
So I was the first one there. I was like
Okay.
one.
Hmm.
There were people all behind. So we're waiting. So he finally turns it out slow. I'm coming around. As I'm coming around, there's no direction for me to tell me to go that way, to go around back onto the road again. All I'm seeing is a road ahead of me, and there's a guy all the way around the corner with the sign that says slow, like another guy. One guy in the front, one guy in the back, right?
Okay.
So I start going towards him. By the time I realize it, it's split. So now I'm going on a one way.
Oh my God.
But he should not be on that side.
Right.
He should be on the other side. Now the light was red on the in front.
Right.
So when
Right.
I got to the front, what car do you think was front?
The cop car.
The
Yeah.
cop car.
Yes.
So I turned into the parking lot, and immediately the lights went on, and I come around. I was like, oh geez. And he was really nice. I told him what happened. I was like, I just got confused when the guy, he said he waving me in, but I'm thinking he's waving me in where he is.
Right.
He's waving me around, and I didn't get that thing, so I kept going straight. And he was like, yeah, well, luckily nobody was coming.
Do you know that
like,
happened to me almost not with construction though.
yeah.
I mean, this was years ago in the Bronx, but it happened to me because I was driving in this area that it was at night, and I wasn't familiar with that block. Now I'd been by
sometimes it's
that,
wider.
right, but I wasn't. But what happened was I didn't realize that the street has a fork, right? So you have to go this way, but there's the other street that's coming this way, but you can go straight and you're in the wrong way,
Right.
So, and I guess I'm not paying attention also, so I kept going straight, and I'm going, wait a minute, and when I realized it, I hit the brakes. I said, and I went to reverse. As I'm reversing, there's a cop car coming right this way. And I'm like, here we go. So I've reversed, and sure enough, whoop, whoop, he sees me. And, and I, same explanation. I said, I got confused. I said, if you saw me, I realized that I was backing up because I just realized I was going in the wrong way. I said, nah, I'm not familiar with this area. I'm very normal. And he was good. He was like, just be careful next time. I was like, no problem. And that was that.
Same thing. The guy was like, he checked my license and all that stuff. And I was like, I was just, he goes, where are you coming from? I was like, I was just getting my son a haircut. And he looked back and he sees Ben with a nice haircut in the car seat. And he's like, hey, you get a nice haircut? He's like, yeah. He's like, good. He's like, so he checked my license. He's like, yeah, just be careful, in construction and stuff. There's a lot of it going on. And I was like, yeah, no problem. But yeah, that was my first one. And I told him that He didn't seem to care. I thought we were gonna bond. You're the first person to ever put me over, first cop ever. He was
Have
like,
you seen
really?
my
Yeah,
show?
first ever. You don't know who I am? Do you know who I am? He's like, let me just give you a few citations for that.
You're like,
One,
I'm with the John Henry Soto Show. Oh, you are? Oh, all right. I'm giving
oh,
you a ticket.
yeah. Oh, you are?
I've seen that show.
Yeah, I was gonna let you go, but pull over. I'm gonna have you. I'm gonna frisk you. Oh shit.
Oh,
All right. So, well, that was Ozzy. Ozzy, thank you very much for everything. Wherever you are, safe travels, brother,
yeah.
and do good wherever you're going. Um, so the next one is, well, this one was probably harder for you. So Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan.
A
Now,
world without Hulk Hogan does not
it
make
is so
sense.
weird, you know. From my understanding, I didn't know he had like neck surgery, and he had a lot of he had neck surgery. I think like not long before he actually passed.
Oh wow.
And some people were speculating were there complications and stuff like that, because
Yeah, yeah,
you got to get that thing right, or else
yeah, yeah. Well, he also
eh,
had an arterial.
yeah, he had arterial problems too, so there was some health issues there. So I don't know, but I mean, he had a great appearance on Rogan. You know,
Yes,
he had a really good interview on Rogan, which I watched.
yes,
That was one of the few actually Rogans that I watched like a lot, most of it.
yeah. I saw a lot of that one too because
But
he's a patriot.
you know, I mean, if you look at Hogan, I mean, you know, as a kid, I was uh, a
I
fanatic,
remember though. I mean, I was not.
with
I was a little older, I guess,
yeah,
and I got into it because of my brother
right,
and you.
yeah.
But I wasn't even. You and I weren't. I guess we were hanging out, but yeah, it was. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was a fanatic, especially, you know, the first WrestleMania, I think what, 1982 or 83,
But I
whatever,
mean,
or 84, maybe, I don't know.
who did not see that?
No,
See
him and
that's
Mr.
the thing.
T.
That's what I'm saying. Like there was wrestling
Yes,
pre
right.
and
Correct.
post Hulk
Correct.
Hogan.
Correct.
Before that, I mean, you can argue Bruno,
San
what's his name, Bruno
Martino.
Sammartino. You can
Yeah.
argue even Andre the Giant. You can
Mhm.
argue those guys. You know what I mean? But Hulkamania
Yeah.
was worldwide. It was humongous. It
Yes.
was so
Yes.
big, and it was like that's when wrestling became. That's
Because
when it was born.
he was actually the one who really created the character, but
Yes,
the personality
right.
that really riveted people, right? Because
Yes, because
before that, just
before
like
that,
you
yeah,
said,
before
you
that it was
had
like
those guys, but they were just like talking, and they
normal
were like,
guys
yeah.
talking.
He
Yeah.
came out with this persona that he
Yes.
literally was like a different person, and he
Yep.
created this thing that you were like, whoa, you
Yes, and
know,
then Macho Man and
yeah,
came,
right.
and that all developed. It
Correct.
spun out of all that. The idea
Exactly.
that you can come out and be like, "Oh yeah,"
Yeah, right.
that
Absolutely.
seems so ridiculous, but it fit in so well with
Yes.
the drama, with the soap opera like
Yeah.
thing that was going on. You were invested in these characters. You
Yes.
wanted to hear their interviews.
Right.
Like I wanted to hear him being interviewed, just standing there with what the guy they always interviewed.
Oh, like Mean Gene Okerlund
Yeah,
and
yeah, the
those
guy
guys.
was,
Yeah. Yeah.
and oh, tell us about what's going on. He goes, oh, I'm gonna tell and all these guys just developed into these characters that we were invested in. We
Yes.
wanted to see them, and they built it up to such a degree, but with these conversations back and forth, that by the time WrestleMania came, the first one and the second one and the third one and everyone of that, it was just through the roof. It
Yeah,
was how good it was.
they were brilliant, and I gotta
It
say,
was
with Vince
brilliant.
McMahon,
Yeah, it was really
you know,
Vince that
it was
kind of
Vince that did that. Well, it was brilliant because I remember Mr. T and Hulk Hogan were on Saturday Night Live at the
yeah,
time. They were on Saturday. They did a skit on Saturday Night Live with Billy Crystal
I
at the
remember
time.
that. I
Yeah,
remember
and
that, and they were both
they were
laughing. They were trying not to laugh.
yes, they were everywhere though. They were
But
on
he
all
was,
shows.
yeah. Billy
They,
Crystal was so funny. He was
yeah,
like, "You look
yeah.
marvelous, man." I like that thing you do with your boobies when you make your boobies. You do that, you look marvelous. Yeah, that was so classic.
But yeah, it was incredible. And I remember I was when that first WrestleMania came, I was just so riveted. And
Yeah,
you
the
know, I had wished
toys.
I had seen it on video afterwards because I didn't go there because it was such a phenomenon. And then of course every year after that you had WrestleMania. But you're right, he
When did pay
created.
per view come?
I don't remember when pay-per-view started with that. I don't remember what year it was. But and then there was another big one. Think about this: the Pontiac Silverdome, WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant.
Is that where he
Slammed them.
slammed them? Yeah, that was mon.
93,000
That
people.
was monumental. Like even I was like, when he did that. I mean, oh my god,
Yeah,
he
I mean,
body slammed the biggest wrestler to ever live. That was like superhero stuff.
yeah, no, it was incredible. And
That was wow.
so yeah, he had, and what I liked about him also is that he was clean.
Yeah,
He maintained his integrity
yeah,
all throughout. He knew that he was a role model for kids.
yes.
So what would he talk about? He talked about the three things, right? He said training, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins. That was his three
That was
premise. He
his
said,
thing.
make
Yeah,
sure kids that you're doing that you're
yeah,
maintaining a good life, that you're exercising, that you're doing all these things. And he always maintained that. Even later on, when he wasn't wrestling much anymore, he would just make appearances, and then he had a show, he had his own reality show and all this. But he always maintained that, always,
yeah,
that integrity, and because he knew that he was in the spotlight, and he
yeah.
wanted to make sure that he had that. It was incredible.
He respected his own celebrity.
Yes,
He
yes.
knew that he influenced children,
Hmm.
and that's a really an aware thing to know, that your impact on children's lives really means something, and for you to say, okay, now I have to kind of chill a little bit.
Right.
I have to even be more more careful, because it's going to affect the child, and I don't want, I want to be a good influence. So he was just a top-notch person.
Yeah, and I just want to mention really quick, Rocky 3.
Oh man.
One of the most classic matches between him and Rocky, when they're supposed
Yeah,
to just do a little exhibition and he starts throwing him and smashing him.
yeah. And that was actually really great, because that was sort of like the first time that you kind of saw him acting,
Yes, yeah.
because then he was like, yeah, just don't worry about it. He was like, he had like a normal voice,
Right. Yep.
and it just blew me away that I was like, oh wow. I was like, okay. I was like,
Yeah,
he's
it was
really
a
good.
he actually tells the story on Rogan that when Sylvester Stallone invited him to do it, he got fired from the WWF at the time because of that. Because he was supposed to do a match.
Oh really? Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't
he
know.
was supposed to do a match, and instead he told Vince, or I think it was, yeah, he told Vince, he said, listen, they invited me to do this movie. I think he said they paid him, what was it, 10 grand to do it? And he said, they invited me to do this film and I'm going to do it. And he was like, if you do that, you're not coming back here. And they fired him. And he went and did the film. And then Stallone, before they even filmed it, they got in the ring just to mess around, just to see. And Stallone kept telling him, no, hit me. And he was like, dude, I don't want to hit you. And Stallone kept saying, no, hit me, make it look real. And he's like, if I hit you, it's gonna look bad. He's
Yeah.
like, come on, get. And he grabbed Stallone and he knocked him where Stallone hit the floor, and his face hit the floor, and he busted his lip. And then Stallone got up and said, exactly. And he was like, he was like shocked. He was like, I thought I was gonna,
Yeah,
that they were
yeah,
gonna fire me from the set. And he says, no, that's what I want.
yeah. No, I'd be the opposite. I'd be like, just pretend.
Yeah, but
Um,
that was interesting. But yeah, and then he ended up getting rehired because of Vince McMahon's father at the time, who was still around, had said, no, we're going to bring him back. And I
he's
think,
too big.
yeah, he was exactly. He
He
was
was
too
too
big. He
big.
was too
They're
big.
not dumb.
Yeah. Right.
They did a thing. It's a publicity, not publicity, but it's just like He could have gone anywhere. He could have started his own wrestling
Yes. Yeah.
league.
Anywhere he would have gone, he would have been huge.
It would have
So
been huge.
yeah, yeah,
So they're just like, okay, we gotta like realize that we're not gonna do this. So WWE's first mainstream superstar, Hogan elevated pro wrestling into pop culture. His
yeah.
larger than life Hulkamania created a bridge between sport and entertainment, influencing both athletic marketing and pop crossover appeal. But
Absolutely.
that's what it was. Like even if you did not like wrestling, you knew who Hulk Hogan
Of
was.
course. Of course.
Period.
Yes.
You can't say that about anyone before wrestling,
Nope.
and he was the guy. He was the guy. So, July 24th, he was 71 years old. A life well lived. He also was a very spiritual, very religious.
Yep.
Um, you know, a Christian, a devout Christian, and just a wonderful, wonderful human. And he did a lot of great things, a lot of
Hmm.
charity work, and a lot of
Yes, he did.
a lot
He
of
gave a
wonderful
lot
things.
to charity.
He
Yes,
did a lot.
he was
Yeah,
big on that.
yeah, yeah. So that was Hulk Hogan. So we're gonna talk a little bit about this one. This one was kind of devastating, only because of there was an accident with Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just
I was shocked.
I
I
was so shocked and just so saddened by that because I don't know if you follow. I followed him on social media, and he was one of these guys. He was such a cool guy.
yeah.
He was giving back. He was always talking. He was doing lectures. He was really just doing great work. And being part of one of the biggest TV shows of in history.
Right.
Um, and his performance just it shaped a generation of like family and being that kind of a son,
Yes.
and it's like and I think his impact was was a lot bigger than people I think realized,
Right.
back then. I think they started realizing it more now. Of course, the show obviously has had a little bit of a situation because of the show because of the lead of the show, but he never really fell into that
No.
and didn't shy away from talking about it. He didn't do that either, but he was obviously, it was damaged the brand, so to speak. But yeah, he was only 50, 54 years old. Um,
Wow.
54 years old. He's in Costa Rica and just a drowning accident, and it was just tragic. You look at my black actors on television that were children, that were
Mhm.
kids. You could look at What's Happening. You could look at Lionel from the Jeffersons.
Yeah.
You could look at Good Times with J.J. Walker, um, and he was the. I think he was the one that you'd want. I think all the others were. The shows were written more in a negative way.
Yeah, I mean, the Cosby Show was the first one to portray at the time, right? To,
Yeah, like a
to
doctor
portray
and a
a
lawyer.
right, correct. To portray a black family as professionals and actually doing well,
Correct.
because prior to that, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
it
Those
was all
shows
these.
portrayed them more in a negative way. They portrayed
Yeah,
them living in, like almost like
yeah,
the
like Good Times.
right.
Good Times was an infuriating show.
No, that Good Times was
Good
yeah,
Times was infuriating because it had such potential.
right.
It had the actors were really great. They're very funny.
Mhm.
They kind of got a little carried away with because JJ, what's his name,
Oh, Jimmy
uh,
Walker,
Jimmy Walker was not the lead of that show
right?
to start off.
Yeah, he became the
He
lead of that
became
show. He
because of the
became
whole dynamite
right.
and his thing, and he was great.
Yeah.
But then they dove into that to such a degree that it lost what they were trying to say. It was a message about a family that struggles but always comes together, and there was
Right.
always love in the family. The mom really fought for that family.
Mhm.
And then the dad, I think, had what's his name, Amos,
John Amos.
John Amos. got upset, because of the whole. It was too much. He kept
Yeah.
competing with the dynamite thing, and it was like they were doing it at every episode.
Right.
He was doing a dynamite or whatever, and so they wrote him off that he died,
Yes. But you know what's interesting about that?
and it's just
So, talking about making
another
sure
dark.
what?
It was. Go ahead.
No, no, I was just going to say, but thinking on that along those lines, what do you do in that situation? Let's
When
say the character that you wrote there was supposed to be a supporting character and ends up exploding, becoming a lead character. Right
yeah,
now,
that happened a lot, by the
he's
way.
probably getting thousands of fan letters. They love him. They,
That that
he becomes
happens a
right.
lot.
Now, what do you do? Now you have to try, like you said, you have to try to make the guy who was the lead character, which was the dad, really try to keep him happy, but at the same time, you're trying to ride this wave of this other guy.
You know, you write it. You write it out. That's what I would have done. I understand what John was upset about.
Right.
I understand he's an actor, he's a professional, he wants to get the right time, he wants to have good stories. But they're trying to get views on this. They're trying to stay on another season.
Right.
And if they stayed on another season, then maybe the shows at some point it would have played itself out.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have done. I mean, it's sort of like Family Ties, right? Alex P. Keaton was not going to be. He was one of the kids in the show.
Yeah, yeah.
But he turned out to be the show.
Yeah,
everybody loved him. You can go back Seinfeld and Kramer. You can go back to One Day at a Time with Schneider.
Yeah.
When he would walk in,
yeah,
everybody. Actually, if you look at even at Good Times that we were just talking about, remember when Booger,
oh yeah,
Boogie,
yeah,
Booger, whatever, come in, the big guy,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
sang and everything. And he came in and the whole place went crazy. Everybody just loved these characters. So there's always been these kind of characters that just really people, audiences just identify with very quickly,
Right.
and then they just love these characters and they want more of that character.
Right.
So with something like Good Times, if it happens, God bless that you're on a show that has somebody that people love to that much of a degree.
True.
And that and it doesn't always happen with all shows. I mean, All in the Family, everyone pretty much, it was always Archie Bunker.
That's right.
And that was his on, nobody came in. There were guest appearances here and there, but there wasn't anything that would take over. Barney Miller, same kind of thing. I think Barney Miller was a really great written, very smart show, with a great baseline opening for the show. But, I think that, I think Fish, really played
Abe Vigoda.
Yeah, Abe Vigoda, I know him only from The Godfather. But he got his own show because people really liked him because of his deadpan,
right?
And his the way he would just say things. So that to me is really, with shows like that. So the Cosby Show, had a lot of it was always Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, he was his show. He was the star. He had the best lines. And it's kind of, I kind of hate that of what happened, and it's just annoying because it was a good show and I did watch it and it did have good messages and
Yes.
it did, and it should have been. It's just sad that now it's got this huge black mark on it, but then but Malcolm came out and he became that kid that you'd be proud of.
Yes,
From a
100%.
family that was like that. You know what I
Yes,
mean? And it's
yes.
like,
I remember when I was a kid, when that show was on, my aunt who worked at NBC at the time, she brought me to. It was before the show aired, they had a private screening of it, and employees could see it.
oh, cool.
Okay, and she could bring somebody, and she brought me.
Nice.
And I remember sitting in this room. It was like a room with a big giant TV, and I watched like the first pilot episode of it, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And she was telling me, she said, yeah, this show's coming out, is going to be debuting soon, and we get the first. And I was like, wow. And that was the first time I had seen before it literally came out, and I was like, I was drawn to it. I thought it was a great show, and I watched I watched the whole show, and you watch these kids grow up
Yeah. That
in
was
the show.
another
You watch
thing. Yeah.
Malcolm grow up and become, he has all of a sudden he's a teen. Now he's got girlfriends, and now the girlfriend dynamic comes in, and the
Yeah.
teen
Yeah.
problems start, and the whole thing. And then and it's funny because I watched him through the years, on some things. And I think the last thing I saw him on, he was on a medical show. That's the last thing I saw him on, where
Yeah.
he played a surgeon. I don't
Mm.
remember the name of the show, but it was not long ago. It was a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was watching, but I remember he was a very like he was a surgeon who was considered like a genius, even though
Mm.
he wasn't the main character of the show. He was one of the side characters,
Yeah.
but he was considered one of the best surgeons in the whole place or in the whatever. And he was very arrogant. So
Mm.
but he knew because he was almost like House,
I was gonna
right?
say, yeah, yeah,
He was that type of character. He was an arrogant guy because he knew he was amazing.
yeah,
And he used to get into arguments with people. And he was like, no, this is the way we're doing it. That's it, because I've been doing this and I'm whatever. And then he would do the surgery and boom, it was amazing.
yeah,
And I remember, and again, he wasn't the main guy, but I always remember seeing him as the arrogant surgeon, but he was incredible,
yeah, yeah. He was
So
a
I
good
was like,
actor. He became a really good
yeah,
actor.
he was a very good actor. He was
Yeah,
good
yeah.
in that series.
And 54, man, he just whole life really. I mean, when you think about it, nowadays that's another, So that was, the other guys. As it's always sad when anyone dies, obviously, but to be cut short like that,
Yeah.
pretty tragic. So we'll miss
Agreed.
him for sure. Just for we have a couple more that we want to talk about. We don't want to make this all depressing, obviously, but um, Chuck Mangione also passed as well. And Chuck was older, and I had the fortune of meeting him once or twice actually, and being able to talk to him a little bit about music and stuff. And this was a long time ago, and I have a picture here that I'll show of. This was back when we had cameras with film, and somebody took this photo of us.
Nice.
Look at this.
Where was it that you met him, by the way?
This was at the Blue Note.
Oh, the Blue
New
Note.
York City. This
Nice.
was backstage at the Blue Note.
That's such a great chain he's got on there.
I know, it was really cool, and it was funny. We were talking. Did I have a chain on? Yeah, I had a chain too. It got caught on my thing. I always got mad that it got caught on my collar there, so it wasn't smooth. And I had this really cool vest. This is the vest that I wore once at a show where I only wore the vest. Do you remember that show?
Yes, I do. I didn't realize
the,
it.
That was the vest.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the best. But he was super nice. I guess I was in my 20s or something. And we talked about, guitars. We talked about the guitar player on Feel So Good. And we talked about his upcoming tour. I went back there and, he talked like this. And he had a drink. He already had like a whole bottle of like something out. And he was already pouring a drink. And he was like, so I was introduced. And he's like, hey, John, how you doing? All right, get over here. Let's talk. And we were talking about the guitar players. And
Did you ever find out who played that solo?
yeah. Gerald, I can't remember his name now. Matter of fact, it was funny. I started listening to him. I started
like him as a guitar player.
As a guitar player. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. He had his like solo stuff.
It was solo stuff, and for some reason, I did not. It didn't. It didn't get me.
Really?
Yeah, it was like. Again,
like, was it that the playing was not good or the music was not good?
It was. It wasn't that. It was a little bit of both.
Interesting.
A little bit of both, and his name is it's Geisman was his name.
Gerald Geisman.
Yeah, Grant Geisman.
Oh, Grant Geisman. Okay.
And I got really into him. I started like really checking out all his stuff, and even recently there was some stuff that was good, but it was just like there was something about that solo.
No, he must talk about inspired on that.
I talk about that solo.
It's one of my it's probably in my book, and again, I'm not a guitar player, but it's one of my favorite solos ever.
It's certainly one of my favorites.
It's my top. It's in my top. Group of solos.
I mean, I have the long version of
the long version is really good.
Version, and it's just
so well crafted.
And there's also a sax solo. There's also a trumpet, obviously, solo. And
That song is like, isn't that song like 12 minutes long or something like
it's
that?
like, yeah, I think it's like 9 minutes
Oh,
and something. Yeah, it's just incredible stuff. And yeah, so he definitely was someone that it was influential just from his songs, his he was a trumpet player. I was like,
yeah, that's what he was.
he was a trumpet player, and but these songs were so groovy and just so dynamic, and he was just really cool. So what else can I say about him? I saw him at the Blue Note. I saw him again later on at somewhere else, Vanguard or something. Was that around
The
back
Village
then?
Vanguard.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was because then it became a CVS. So
Oh, well, then there's that.
yeah.
I think most places now became a CVS
Well, that
in
whole
that
Bleecker
area.
Street. Remember the
Bleecker
Bleecker?
Street. Yes, we've.
Well, there was a sign. Matter of fact, yeah, it did. Was it? I think it was the village. I think it was. There was a sign that was on the side of a building, and it said the Village Vanguard,
Uh,
and it was right over a CVS. So the CVS became that.
wow.
And but if you go down there now, they're all gone.
They're all. I know. I know. I remember when. I remember when. What's
That
the one
whole
we used
road, that
the one
whole
we used to
block,
go to all the time, where we saw so many
Kenny's
people.
Castaway.
No,
The
we
bottom
played that.
line, the
Yeah,
bottom line.
Bottom Line, but no, was it the Bottom Line?
Yeah, the bottom
Was
line
that
was
where we saw Acoustic Alchemy and Dave Weckl and all those guys?
yeah, bottom line.
I was so sad when that thing closed.
Yeah, it was bought by NYU.
Wow,
NYU bought it. They have that. They own pretty much all of that area down there.
incredible.
But yeah, that place was incredible, and that's one of the things that I was just talking to someone about this. Who was I talking to? I think I was talking to somebody about this, and it was Billy Sheehan actually. I was talking to, and he said he loved that place. 'Cause
Yeah,
I was telling him about the bottom line. He was like, "Oh man, I love that place," and I was like, "Yeah." I said, I got to see all these guys there, and we were talking about the Buddy Rich
yeah, the
tribute
tribute band,
band
yeah.
with Dave Weckl,
Mhm.
and then we saw Dennis Chambers there, and all that. But I was saying we paid
That's right, it was 15 bucks.
$15 to sit
God.
down, and it wasn't like we were far back.
No, we were right there.
We were right there. There is Dave Weckl. There is the whole band just blowing. I mean, we saw John McLaughlin there,
That's right.
right?
That's
We
right, John.
saw
We saw
Dennis Chambers there,
Acoustic Alchemy
Acoustic
there.
Alchemy there.
I that's where I got to meet Weckl. I took Mina to this one. I got to meet Weckl. He got to sign my Modern Drummer magazine actually at the
Nice
time.
monitor magazine.
Oh my god, it
Still
was
around.
yeah.
It's still around. I tag them all the time whenever we're interviewing like a legendary drummer as we do now. But yeah, they're still out there. Oh man, just great times, great music. So all these guys just give you such memories. But one of the things I wanted to touch upon and was that one of the reasons and this is just perfect timing because us talking about the bottom line, that feeling that you and I just felt is why we love these people that just
Yes.
passed.
Yes.
Because then you recall that moment, you recall that feeling. Like when I was just talking to you about seeing Black Sabbath,
Mhm.
when you were just talking about WrestleMania 1,
Yeah.
and right now Chuck Mangione's that guitar solo,
Yep.
and watching him at the Blue Note and stuff, um, and getting to meet him and talk to him, and it's those. That's why, and even if we don't meet them in person, what they create is so powerful,
Right.
and it reaches so many people to such a deep level
Yes.
that it just completely resonates. And when someone passes, a little bit of you goes,
Correct.
because you're holding on to this passion, this love of what this thing is. And now we all know, as sad as I don't even want to say this, but as sad as we all know, we're not going to see Ozzy anymore
Right.
talking. We're
Right.
not going to see an interview with Hulk anymore.
Right.
We're not going
Yeah.
to see, we're not going to hear any more music, any
Yeah.
new music, unless it was recorded previously from Chuck.
Right.
And that, I was telling about Chick Corea also,
Mhm.
um same kind of thing,
Yes.
and if you go back to, like, I don't know about you, but there were three people that when they passed was devastating. Like I lost a family member.
Right. Yes.
One of them was Robin Williams.
Mm.
When Robin, I swear I sat in a chair for like 3 hours, frozen. Because I was on my computer. I was in Bayonne, New Jersey. I was on my computer in the kitchen and I'm staring and I'm almost like in a dream state. Like this didn't just happen.
Right.
I think I had just watched something and I was always a huge, since Mork and Mindy,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Watching this guy's career. Um, Michael Jackson
Mm-hmm.
was number two for me.
Yeah.
Like Michael was a tremendous loss. I was the day he died, and I've told this story before on the show. The day he died, I was waiting for the 4 train in New York City to go home, and I had my Walkman or whatever player I had,
Yeah.
whatever music thing I had. It's 2009, so it was some kind of a iPod or something. And and I remember taking the train. I'm standing on the platform, and I remembered that he's going to do 50 shows in London.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I'm thinking to myself, as I'm coming down the steps, I'm thinking, oh man, so that means that Van Halen's going to show up
Mm.
to one of his solos. Slash is going to show up
Yeah.
to do one of his things. Um, Paul McCartney is going to come up, and they're going to do say all the stuff
Yeah.
that they did. Stevie Wonder is going to probably show up. And do something with him. All these all these people are going to be there and they want to get in,
Yeah.
especially if they've already covered stuff. Janet Jackson and him are going to be on stage together. That's going to happen.
Right.
He's going to get the whole Jackson 5 on
Yeah.
stage to do
Yep.
stuff. So I'm all excited. So I was like, oh man, I want to listen to some stuff. So I go down and I start listening to Michael Jackson. When I got home, that's when I found out that during that ride and I was sitting there again frozen just thinking and then that people that were around these people were not qualified or were not capable
Mm-hmm.
of helping these souls,
Yeah.
these troubled souls. Like Robin Williams, we all know, had suffered from depression. Everyone who said, who knew him said he was very, very introverted, which is incredible to think about. When he gets out there, he's suddenly Mr. Incredible, but he had this other thing. And there was nobody there that can save these guys. And that's always really was just tragic. That was just tragic for me. And then the third one for me was Prince. Prince was another. I was like, and there are others, whenever somebody, that you respect, those three for me were kind of like, I think because they were not done in the way I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
50 years old, like you and I are older than that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Michael
It's
and Prince, and I think Robin was a little bit older, like in his 60s, but still, he just did work. I mean, he could be working right now. He
absolutely.
could still be doing stuff. So
For me, it's Michael Jackson was definitely one of them because, and I mean, I think Michael Jackson hit the world hard, that one.
Yeah.
And for me, it was it got me also because my daughter at the time was obsessed with him.
Oh God.
She was, and she was, I don't remember exactly how old she was when he passed, but
2009. So
2009. She was born in 2006.
oh, so she was 3.
Okay. But she was upset. She had me put on the tape from Bucharest, the one where he comes out and just stands there.
Oh my God.
Remember that whole concert?
He shoots out of the ground. I
Yes.
played that for my kids,
Yes.
and he just stands there.
Yeah, that one.
Carrying people being carried, girls fainted, being carried off, and he's just standing there. And then it was a long ass time.
It was a long time. Yeah.
And
then he moves.
And the whole place again, more people fainting. I was feeling like fainting. I was like,
we watched that probably 30 times.
Oh,
Okay.
easily. I've watched it. I watched it on YouTube. I can tell you right now, a month ago, I watched it.
Yeah, we watched, and she had me put on Thriller, right? She watched Thriller like 30 times. She loved it. Then Beat It. No, she got so into him. And During that time, that's when he died. And I had to sit there with her
Ugh.
and say, Michael Jackson just died. And she's like looking at me with this look, you know,
I
and
probably wouldn't have said anything.
it was one of the hardest it was like two conversations that I had with her that were very difficult. When my grandmother passed away, and I had to tell her that, and when Michael Jackson passed away, because she loved him.
Wow.
And to this day, she still listens to him. He's part of her playlist.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, she still has. She even
I
has
was
a couple
listening
of his.
yesterday.
She has a couple of his actual records. You know,
Yeah.
but that one hit me hard with that because
Yeah.
also for me, again, childhood, right?
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
listening
that
to him
was
growing up was
that was our
that was the
thing. I
soundtrack.
was
That
just
was
telling my son in the car yesterday. We're driving home. We're listening to it,
yeah,
and I was like, "Listen to my." I put on Billie Jean is the first one. I was watching
yeah,
the 25th anniversary of the Motown. I'm
yeah,
watching it.
yeah.
And the next day, the world was different.
Yes,
The
the
next
same.
day,
Yeah,
the world as we knew it, Michael Jackson came out, did something that we never saw before, did the whole spin, moonwalk, on his toes, all that. The next day, going back to school, the world was different, and it was Michael Jackson from then on until he passed. It was it.
yeah. And video wise, the Thriller video.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
there. And I'll never forget it. My family actually, remember they had the debut of the Thriller
Oh
video.
yeah, of course.
It
Yeah, I
was the
mean,
debut,
it was
and we
Michael. What was his name? Landis. The
oh
director.
yeah,
Uh,
Jonathan Landis his name is,
yeah,
or
some
um
something like that.
something, yeah, whatever. But
Yeah, John Landis. Yeah.
John Landis, yeah. So my family got together in my grandmother's house to watch the debut of that
Yeah, I know.
thing.
I remember being
I
on.
will never
Well, I
forget
remember
that.
sitting in there watching, waiting to watch.
There was so much
Yes,
hype around it. It was incredible, and of course, it
unbelievable.
was incredible.
Oh, it was.
But yeah, that one blew
And
me
then from
away.
that on, it was always like all of the ones that came out. Like when Bad came out, that was
Yes,
directed by Scorsese, and I remember, he wanted the camera to dance and stuff, and I saw some of the behind the scenes stuff, and we were there waiting for that one, and then the way you're making me
yeah,
feel.
yeah,
When that one came out, it was the same thing. It had a whole bunch of people just waiting for these video. Um, Dirty Diana.
yeah,
What was the other one? Annie, are you okay?
yeah. Oh yeah, Smooth Criminal. Yeah,
Criminal, all that stuff.
I'll never forget also the
And Billie Jean. How many times did we see Billie Jean on
Billie
MTV?
Jean. Yes, the one you were just talking about. Damn it. The one in the subway. The way he's doing this.
Oh, Bad.
Bad was actually part of my we had to study Bad in my music class in high school.
Really?
It
Wow.
was part of my music class. We had to watch the entire video and then analyze it.
Wow.
And
That's
it
awesome.
was part of the thing. I'll never forget it because we were all watching that. It was like, holy cow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
that
really
was a
cool.
great one. That was definitely
So
okay.
so Michael was devastating to me. It took me
Yeah.
a while to get over that. And then the other one was obviously
But-
Neil Peart
oh yeah, Neil Peart. Yeah.
was, and obviously he's not as big as those guys are. And the interesting thing about Neil Peart was because he was a guy who was the drummer from Rush. For those who don't know, he was the guy that literally changed my life in music because of you, obviously.
I was there.
And he
I'll
changed
always be that guy.
as soon as I heard him play.
Well, let me tell it.
Everything changed. It literally
Because
it was over.
I've told it. I've told these. We've told this story before, but I'm just gonna quickly. But we had these CDs that were left behind by someone that was renting a room at my mom's house, and the guy left, and then he left a box of CDs, and in that box was Moving Pictures by Rush, and Who's Next?
Who's Next? Yes.
By the Who.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember you had it. You had it in this little thing.
yeah,
because
and it was like
there was no cases.
there was no
just,
case. No, there was no case. But I had a little. There was a little case that I put
Yeah.
them in, and then I was like, and then I went home and I started listening to Rush. I was like, well, let me listen to this and see what it was. And I was like, what just happened to me? Like, this is I mean, I don't know what year this was, but this was probably uh late 80s.
Yeah, 80, 88, 89,
Yeah,
maybe something like
yeah,
that.
around there. And I'm like, how come I don't know this? And one of the songs I thought was called Salesman.
You kept telling me, you know the song Salesman.
Salesman.
I'm like, huh?
So it's only Rush fans will get that. But anyway, I brought, I said you got to listen to this thing, and I played it for him, and I remember his whole persona just
Yeah.
changed. He became a completely different human being
Yes.
right at that moment. I was just so blown away by that.
Yeah, I was changed. I was changed. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to listen to. And it's amazing, a person. And it's the interesting thing about Neil Peart, for those who don't know him well, he, not that I know him well, but I mean, just seeing so many interviews and just, I read, I mean, I literally, Rush had books that I sat and read back from cover to cover just about them. But he was a guy that never understood the obsession with fame.
Right.
He
Right.
always
That's
said,
what
I,
Limelight is about.
yeah, yeah, and he never understood the concept of, like, he would always say, "I don't understand why people are so obsessed with me and they want my autograph." He goes, "As a kid, I never did that." He
Right.
says,
Right.
but and I always thought that was fascinating about him, that he just never got that concept.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, because he was not really about that.
No, he wasn't.
He was not at all. He had no concept of what celebrity was. Like, he just wanted to play music.
Play music.
I
Yeah,
think a lot of the guys were like that.
yeah.
I think the Rush, that was what made Rush so um this is my son. Sorry, everybody. Um okay. Okay, just give me 5 minutes here. He sees that we're supposed to be done in
I
an
know.
hour, and because we keep going, he comes in. So anyway, this is live television, folks. But yeah, he just did not have that understanding of what fame was. But that was what was endearing about those guys. That
Exactly.
it was just about the music. And so yeah, when he passed, it was just, that was another one that was like, oh God. And then the thing is that, like, nobody really knew that it was even a problem.
Yeah, I mean, in Canada, maybe they knew a little more because he was Canadian, and like.
But
But the
but
funny thing is, the news in the United States didn't even talk about it. It was actually the Canadian news
yeah,
that actually did a whole story on it.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, it's just that was crazy, and I know that you were really upset when OJ died. That was like something that I remember you texting me and
yeah,
crying.
nobody knew, but I was in the Bronco with him.
The back seat. Maybe you should pull over. Um, so, well, there's some other Connie Francis,
Yeah, Connie Francis.
legendary pop artist, female artist. She was 87 years old.
Wow.
Um, she was one of the best-selling female artists of the 50s and 60s with over. Oh, jeez, I didn't know this. With over 100 million records sold. Did you know that? I didn't
I
know
didn't
that.
know that.
A
No way.
hundred million? That's like
Oh,
more than Aerosmith or something, like a, you know what I mean? Like
that's
a huge
crazy.
band. 100 million. Wow. So her versatile vocals and crossover hits like Who's Sorry Now? That was a great
Mhm.
song. Helped define an era and paved the way for future female pop icons. Absolutely. She was incredible.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So,
Lonnie Anderson died.
oh yeah, I wrote that down actually. Lonnie Anderson. Yeah, she just died. I was, I think, Barbara Eden actually posted, because I follow Barbara Eden. You know Barbara
Okay.
Eden,
Yes.
so I follow her on Instagram, and she just posted it. But yeah, Lonnie Anderson. She was uh I only know her from WKRP in
WKRP.
Cincinnati.
I know. Yeah.
I know she did other things,
Yeah.
obviously,
But that was
but
her. That was kind of her big thing.
yeah, that was her big
I
breakout role, and
I I,
she was
li- I
just
don't know, but I
gorgeous.
like that show. I got into that show.
WKRP, hey, listen, was a funny show.
It was a funny show.
That was a very well written show.
Yeah.
The turkey episode gets, every year they put out the same episode. It's just a
It's
classic,
classic.
classic scene. Love it. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate y'all very much. As always, we will be here again next week, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, tomorrow morning, I'll be here as well at 7 a.m. With my show. We'll be talking about the latest news from the dailies and the industry. So join me for that. If you're a filmmaker, if you're interested in that type of world stuff, then that's the information that you're going to want to get and the connection that you want to have. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate y'all very much. Have a wonderful evening. And as always, peace.
Peace.